The autumn air hung thick over Riverside Park that Saturday afternoon, carrying the distant hum of traffic and the laughter of children playing basketball. In the middle of it all, an 11-year-old boy collapsed to his knees, clutching his chest as if an invisible hand was squeezing the life out of him. His lips turned blue, his eyes went wide with terror, and everyone around him froze. Everyone except the woman in the worn scrubs walking past the basketball court, exhausted from her third nursing shift in 48 hours. Emma hadn't planned to stop. She was running late, her feet aching, her mind already on the bus ride home to her small apartment across town. But the sound of panic cut through her exhaustion. A sharp, primal scream that made her turn her head. A crowd had formed near the court. Parents, teenagers, a security guard with his phone out, all standing in a helpless circle around a boy who was dying. Emma's training kicked in before her mind could catch up. She pushed through the crowd and dropped to her knees beside him. The boy was gasping short, desperate gulps that brought in no air. His chest heaved violently. His fingers clawed at his throat. Sweat beaded on his forehead despite the cool autumn air. His face had gone from red to pale to a terrifying shade of blue. Severe asthma attack. "Where's his inhaler?" Emma shouted to the crowd. A young woman, maybe a nanny, was crying, shaking her head violently. "I don't know. I don't know where it is. Someone call 911, another voice yelled. But Emma knew. She'd seen this before in the emergency room. She'd watched children die waiting for ambulances stuck in traffic, watched medications fail to work fast enough, watched children slip away while everyone did everything right according to the textbook. Sometimes the textbook wasn't enough. She reached into her bag, a battered canvas thing she carried everywhere, and pulled out a small glass bottle. The liquid inside was dark amber, unremarkable. It looked like something someone's grandmother might brew in a kitchen and give away at a farmer's market. Because that's exactly what it was. Emma's grandmother had been an herbalist in rural Pennsylvania, growing plants and mixing remedies that doctors dismissed as folklore. Her mother had continued the practice, and Emma, despite her nursing degree, despite working in a modern hospital, carried those same remedies with her. She'd seen them work when nothing else did. She uncapped the bottle and tilted the boy's head back gently. His terrified eyes locked onto hers. They were brown, she noticed, deep brown with flecks of gold. And they were filled with the purest fear she'd ever seen. "Listen to me," she said, her voice calm and firm. "You're going to be okay. Drink this. Just a little sip. Trust me." For a moment the boy hesitated. His chest heaved again. His vision was starting to blur. Then he drank. Emma counted silently. 10 seconds. 20. 30. The boy's gasping slowed. His chest stopped heaving so violently. Color began creeping back into his lips, pink replacing the terrifying blue. 50 seconds. He took a full breath. Then another, deep and clean and real. The crowd gasped collectively. The boy coughed, blinked, and looked up at Emma with confusion and relief flooding his young face. What happened?" She exhaled and smiled. "You're okay. You're going to be okay." The nanny dropped to her knees beside them, sobbing with relief. "Oh my God! Thank you. Thank you so much." But then Emma heard the voice, a roar of fury and fear cutting through the murmurs of the crowd. "Get away from my son." Emma's head snapped up. A man was running toward them, tall and expensively dressed in a tailored suit. His face was twisted with rage and terror. His eyes locked on Emma like she was a threat. "He's okay," Emma said quickly, standing up. He had an asthma attack. I helped him. I said get away from him. The crowd shifted. Some of them looked at her now with suspicion, as if saving a child was somehow wrong. Emma didn't wait for questions. She didn't wait for the ambulance or the accusations. She grabbed her bag and ran. Behind her, the man, his name was Daniel Matthews, dropped to his knees beside his son, checking him over frantically. Are you okay? Are you hurt? What did she give you? The boy, Max, was still catching his breath, but he shook his head. I'm okay, Dad. She saved me. I couldn't breathe, and she gave me something, and then I could breathe again. The nanny stepped forward, tears streaming down her face. She did save him, Mr. Matthews. His lips were blue. I thought he was going to die. And then she gave him that, and he just started breathing again. Daniel looked around wildly, but the woman was gone, vanished into the afternoon crowd like smoke. By the time the paramedics arrived 10 minutes later, Max was sitting up, breathing normally, looking more stable than he had in years. One of the EMTs checked his vitals and frowned. This doesn't make sense. His oxygen levels are perfect. His lungs sound completely clear. What do you mean? Daniel asked. The paramedic looked at him seriously. If this kid had a severe asthma attack like you described, he should still be in respiratory distress. But he's completely stable. Perfect, actually. She paused. Whatever that woman gave him, it worked, and it worked incredibly fast. Her partner nodded. You're lucky she was here, sir. Another 5 minutes and we'd be talking about brain damage or worse. Daniel's blood ran cold. He'd shouted at her, chased her away, and she'd saved his son's life. He spent the rest of the day searching the park, asking everyone if they'd seen her, describing her face, her worn scrubs, the small glass bottle. But no one knew who she was. She was a ghost. That night, Daniel sat in Max's bedroom watching his son sleep, listening to his steady breathing, and he made a silent promise. He would find her, no matter how long it took. 1 week passed. Max didn't have a single asthma attack. Not one. Daniel waited, tense, expecting the familiar sound of labored breathing, the coughing fits at 3 in the morning. But it never came. Another week passed. Then a month. Max, who had lived his entire life with an inhaler in his pocket, who couldn't run without wheezing, who missed school constantly, Max was suddenly fine. Better than fine. He was playing basketball, running without stopping, living without fear. Daniel took him to see Dr. Harrison, the pediatric pulmonologist who had treated Max since he was a baby. Dr. Harrison ran every test imaginable. Lung function, chest x-rays, blood work. And then he sat down across from Daniel with complete disbelief on his face. This doesn't make any medical sense, Dr. Harrison said slowly. What doesn't? Max's lungs. They're perfect, stronger than they've ever been. The chronic inflammation we've been managing since he was 2, gone. Completely gone. The airway constriction, the scarring, all of it, gone. His lung capacity is above normal for his age. It's like the asthma never existed. Daniel stared at him. That's impossible. I know. Asthma is a chronic condition. We manage it, we control it, but we don't cure it. Dr. Harrison shook his head. But the tests don't lie. Whatever that woman gave him, it didn't just stop an attack. It fundamentally changed his respiratory system. You're saying she cured him? I have no other explanation. And I've been practicing medicine for 30 years. He paused. Find her. Whatever she has, the medical community needs to know about it. Daniel left the office in a daze. That night, he made a decision. He was going to find that woman, no matter what it took. Emma sat on the edge of her narrow bed, staring at the eviction notice taped to her door. Final notice. You have 30 days to vacate the premises. She didn't cry. She was too tired to cry. Her grandmother had been an herbalist. Her mother, too. It was family heritage, knowledge passed down through generations about which roots could stop a fever, which leaves could calm a cough. Emma had wanted to honor that legacy. She'd become a nurse so she could combine modern medicine with traditional healing. She dreamed of opening a clinic where she could offer people something that actually healed them instead of just managing symptoms. For 5 years, she'd worked 3 jobs, saving every dollar. She ate ramen. She wore the same scrubs until they were threadbare. She didn't go out, didn't take vacations, didn't live. She saved. And finally, after 5 years, she'd had $50,000. Enough to start. That's when she met David Chin. He called himself an investment consultant. He had a nice office, a nice suit, a nice smile. He said he could triple her money in 6 months through a healthcare startup. All she had to do was trust him. She was desperate. She was hopeful. She gave him everything. 3 days later, his office was empty. The phone number didn't work. The address didn't exist. Emma went to the police. A detective with kind eyes told her she wasn't the first. That David Chun had scammed at least a dozen women over the past year. That they were looking for him, but the chances of recovering her money were slim. Emma had walked out of that police station and stood on the sidewalk for 20 minutes, unable to move. Everything she'd worked for, gone. 5 years of her life, gone. That was 2 weeks ago, the day before she saved the boy in the park. She'd been walking home, hollow and numb, when she heard the commotion. She'd almost kept walking, almost ignored it. But then she saw it was a child, and she couldn't walk away from a dying child. She didn't know that one small act would change everything. All she knew was this. She had 30 days to find a new apartment, $200 in her bank account, and a shift starting in 6 hours. She lay back on her bed and closed her eyes, and she kept going. Because what else could she do? 5 years passed. 5 years since the incident in the park. Max was 16 now, standing in his bedroom surrounded by athletic trophies. Basketball MVP, track and field champion, varsity team captain. He stared at them, feeling their weight. Before that day in the park, Max had been a ghost in his own body. Weak, fragile, afraid. He'd loved sports, but his asthma had kept him caged. Every time he tried to play, to live, his lungs betrayed him. And then she came, the woman with tired eyes and a small bottle. The woman who knelt beside him when everyone else stood frozen. The woman who whispered, "Trust me." The woman who saved his life while his father ran toward them, shouting. Max had never forgotten her face. And he'd never forgiven himself for not thanking her. For 5 years, Daniel had searched. He'd hired private investigators. He'd gone back to the park every weekend. He'd posted on social media, offered rewards. Nothing. She'd vanished. Max walked downstairs and found his father in the study, staring at his computer with the same haunted expression he'd worn for 5 years. "Dad." Daniel looked up. "We have to find her," Max said quietly. "I need to find her." Daniel rubbed his face. "I've tried, Max. For 5 years. I've tried everything. Then we need to try something bigger." Daniel looked at his son. The strong, healthy, vibrant young man who shouldn't exist, who should still be sick, and something clicked. You're right, Daniel said. We need to go bigger. 2 months later, the announcement went live. The headline exploded across every news outlet. CNN ran it. The New York Times put it on the front page. It trended for days. Daniel Matthews, founder and CEO of Matthews Tech Ventures, was offering $10 million to anyone who could provide a proven, effective cure for asthma in children. The applications flooded in. Thousands, then tens of thousands. Doctors with experimental treatments, scientists with theories, herbalists with family remedies, scammers with snake oil. Daniel's team reviewed every single one, searching for her. But weeks passed and she didn't appear. Daniel began to lose hope. And then, on a Tuesday afternoon in March, his assistant knocked on his office door. "Sir, there's one more application. She's been waiting downstairs for 3 hours. She says she was at the park that day." Daniel's heart stopped. "Send her up." Emma was lying on her couch, exhausted from another double shift, when her neighbor burst through the door. "Emma, you have to see this." Her neighbor shoved a phone in her face. Emma sat up and read the headline. Then she read it again. Her hands started trembling. Tech billionaire offers $10 million for asthma cure. Below it was a photo of Daniel Matthews, the man from the park. "This is it," her neighbor said, gripping her shoulders. "This is your chance. You have to apply." Emma stared at the impossible number, $10 million. For 5 years she'd rebuilt slowly, painfully. She'd saved $20,000, kept in 3 different accounts because she didn't trust anyone. But 10 million? That could change everything. Not just for her. For everyone she could help. "What if it's a trap?" Emma whispered. "What if he's angry?" "Emma, that man has been searching for you for 5 years. This entire thing is for you. He's trying to find you." Emma's heart pounded. She took a shaky breath. "Okay," she whispered. "I'll apply." 3 weeks later, Emma sat in a pristine waiting room on the 42nd floor of a glass tower, wearing the best dress she owned, a simple blue thing from a thrift store. She didn't belong here, in this world of marble and money, but she was here anyway. "Miss Carter." A man in a suit stood in the doorway. "Mr. Matthews will see you now." Emma followed him down a hallway lined with photographs. A young boy growing up in frames. Max at 8, at 10, at 12. Smiling, healthy, alive. Because of her. She stepped into an enormous office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. She could see the park from here. The park where it all happened. And there he was, Daniel Matthews, older now, tired. But his eyes, those eyes that had been filled with fury, were soft now. He was standing behind his desk, and when he saw her, he went completely still. For a long moment, neither of them moved. "It's you," he whispered. Emma nodded. "It's me." Daniel crossed the office in 3 strides and held out his hand. "I've been looking for you for 5 years. Emma took his hand. "I know. You saved my son." His voice cracked. "You saved him and I screamed at you. I chased you away. And I've regretted it every single day since." Tears burned in Emma's eyes. "I just did what I could. I saw a child dying and I couldn't walk away. Please, sit." Daniel gestured to the chairs by the window. They sat, and Daniel told her everything. About Max's miraculous recovery. About the doctor's disbelief. About 5 years of searching. "Max is alive because of you," Daniel said. "He's healthy. He's an athlete now. He's been recruited by colleges for basketball. He's happy. And none of that would exist without you. He paused. You didn't just save his life that day. You gave him a completely different life. Emma wiped her eyes. I'm glad. I've wondered about him. Daniel reached into his desk and pulled out an envelope. This is yours. Emma opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a check for $10 million. She gasped. I can't. This is too much. No. Daniel shook his head firmly. It's not nearly enough. This isn't payment. It's an investment. In you. In your work. In the lives you're going to save. I don't know what to say. Say you'll let me help you build something, Daniel said, leaning forward. A clinic. A wellness center. Whatever you need. My son is alive because you helped him. Let me help you save others. Emma looked at the check, at this man who'd spent 5 years searching for her. She thought about her grandmother, her mother, generations of women who'd kept ancient knowledge alive despite a world that called them quacks. She thought about the $50,000 she'd lost, about 5 years of starting over. And she thought about all the people she could help. Okay, she whispered. Yes, let's build something. Daniel smiled. There's someone who wants to meet you. He opened the office door, and Max walked in. He was 16 now, tall and strong, with broad shoulders from years of sports. His eyes were the same deep brown she remembered from that terrible, beautiful day. He looked at Emma, and his face broke into a smile that was half joy, half tears. Thank you, Max said, his voice thick with emotion. I've wanted to say that for 5 years. Thank you. You're my hero. Emma started crying, not sad tears this time, but something that felt like healing. Max crossed the room and hugged her. A long, tight embrace that said everything words couldn't. I never forgot you, Max whispered. I knew we'd find you someday. I'm here now, Emma said. I know. Max pulled back and smiled. And I'm never letting you disappear again. Daniel stood beside his son. Let's change the world. Emma nodded. And for the first time in 5 years, she believed it was possible. The building stood on the edge of the city, modern and welcoming, with walls of glass that let in morning light. A sign near the entrance read, Carter Wellness Center, traditional healing, modern care. Inside, children laughed in a waiting room that didn't look like a hospital. There were plants and soft couches and books and toys. Parents cried with relief in consultation rooms where doctors worked alongside herbalists, where ancient remedies met modern medicine. Emma moved through the center with quiet purpose, checking on patients, training new staff, mixing remedies in a laboratory that would have made her grandmother weep with pride. She'd hired nurses and herbalists and researchers. She'd partnered with universities. She'd started clinical trials to prove what she'd always known, that sometimes the old ways worked. Children with asthma came through their doors every day. Most of them left cured, completely cured. The medical journals were starting to pay attention. Max visited every week. He volunteered in the afternoons, helping with fundraising, telling his story to anyone who would listen. He was headed to college in the fall on a basketball scholarship, but he'd already told Emma he was coming back after graduation to work with her. You gave me my life, he'd said. I want to spend it helping you give that gift to others. And every time he walked through those doors, healthy and whole, Emma remembered that day in the park. The day she'd lost everything and saved a boy. The day that boy had saved her back. 5 years later, when she needed it most. She stood at the window of her office and looked out at the city. Somewhere out there were more children who couldn't breathe. More people who'd been told there was no cure. More families who'd exhausted every option. And now they had one more option. They had her. Emma smiled and got back to work. Because kindness, she'd learned, is never wasted. It's only waiting. Waiting for the moment it comes back to you, when you need it most, in ways you never imagined. And when it does, it changes everything.